What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, I am super excited to do this video with you guys and talk about my latest project, which is actually my first new construction project that I've done. This is gonna be a project where I'm gonna build 4 rental units from the ground up. Never done it before, I've only renovated. So this is kind of a new experience for me as well. So what I thought I would do in this video is give you guys an overview of how we actually permitted the land, right? Because we had to take the land, work with the city to get permits to build the units. I'm also gonna talk about how we financed the original acquisition, how we did a cash out refinance before we even stuck a shovel in the ground. And I'm also lastly gonna talk about the scope of construction. As I'll show you, we're just getting started right now. So if you've thought about potentially building ground up or renovating rental units, this is gonna be an awesome, awesome video. I wanted to start off first in terms of how we found the deal. This was actually the very first deal I ever found on Craigslist that we ended up buying. So I've been hunting on Craigslist. I saw this owner put up an ad that he's looking to sell a piece of land in Boston, and we immediately hit him up. Now, the thing when you're buying land you have to be very careful about is you need to make sure you know what you can build on the land, right? Because there's no real point in owning land if you don't know what you can build on it. So the way we structured the deal with the owner is what's called a zoning contingency. And a zoning contingency essentially means the sale was contingent on us getting the permits from the city to build a certain amount of units, right? Because if we couldn't build anything, or if we can only build a single family, the price that we paid for wouldn't be as attractive as if we could build 3, 4, or 5 units. In terms of how we got this permitted, it can actually be a little bit of a complex, expensive, and long process, especially in the city of Boston. City of Boston's not known for easy permitting. We had to work with the city where we first proposed a certain amount of plans to the local community. We actually started out by proposing 5 rental units. You can see here it's kind of a pretty big lot overall, so we thought 5 units could be a reasonable proposal. We ended up working with the neighborhood and kind of went back and forth and eventually settled down on 4 units. Now, I kind of say this in a matter of 20 seconds, but that process alone took about 6 to 8 months between coordinating with the architects, coordinating with the community groups. We had a zoning attorney involved. So there was a lot of different moving pieces and a lot of feedback kind of going back and forth to really nail down the final concept. So the development business is definitely never streamlined. Typically the way this process is supposed to work, it's supposed to take you about, maybe 8-9 months in Boston to really get this done. For us, it almost took double, just because there were so many unexpected delays. We had community meetings that got canceled last second that almost took us 18 months from start to finish. It included, like I said, everything from community meetings, meeting with different groups. We also door knocked the neighborhood. So as you can see, we literally went door to door in the houses next door and literally told them about the proposal, made sure that the neighbors were comfortable with it and liked it, and kind of took feedback. So we really try to work with the local community, local neighbors, to really put out like a super, super solid proposal. After almost 18 months of going back and forth, eventually we met with the city and did get our final stamp of approval. So we did get permission to build 4 residential units, which are gonna be rental units. It's gonna be a combination of 2 beds and 3 beds. The building is gonna look beautiful. It's gonna stand up right here. It's gonna have nice large units. The top level is actually gonna be duplex units. There's gonna be some good parking right where I'm standing as well. So overall, even though it took a lot of muscle and a lot of effort to really push it through, we ended up getting the 4 units that we were looking for, which made financial sense, made sense for the community, and it's kind of a win-win for everyone. Now, in terms of how we actually finance the acquisition, land is also a little tricky because it's not as clean to go to a bank and say, hey, I'm buying a piece of land, can you give me a 75% loan like you do on a house? So what we actually ended up doing up front is we actually got capital partners involved and we raised all the money to buy the land as cash, right? So our purchase price here was about $130,000 or so. So we actually got capital partners to come in, provide $130,000, and we closed on the land with their cash, and they owned a piece of the project in return. So that was at the beginning, once we were going through the approval process. Now, what's really cool about land is once you actually get the land approved for a certain amount of units, right, you actually increase the value of the land. Because now all of a sudden, it's not just raw land, now it's land with approvals to build 4 residential units, and that has a much larger market value. So what we actually end up doing is contacting a local bank once we had those approvals and saying, hey, look, we think the land has increased in value since we paid for it, because now we have 4 units approved by the city to build. And what happened was we actually ended up doing a cash out refinance on the land before we even stuck a shovel in the ground, because basically the bank said, we agree, this land is worth now, I think we got it appraised just under $300,000, and we got a cash out refinance and was able to take a chunk of cash out, pay back most of our investors that originally provided the funds, plus that bank also provided a construction loan, which we're now ready to use to actually build the project. So from a financial perspective, the cash out refinance was absolutely huge. The investors got their cash back that they initially invested. We got them off the board, and we have a construction loan ready to go to build the 4 residential units. So we are now ready to put shovels in the ground. As you can see behind me, we already got a dumpster on site. There was initially a small garage here on the land that we already demoed completely. So the land is nice and flat. We're finalizing the last few things with the city. We got to submit some final construction documents, like water and sewer plans, some final engineering plans, but we should probably within the month be ready to actually stick shovels in the ground and start actually pouring the foundation. So, we expect the project to probably take somewhere around, somewhere between 6 to 10 months to build. We'll figure out exactly depending on when the permit is actually pulled. But once it's pulled, we're gonna go straight up, and it's gonna be a beautiful building sitting right here in front of us. Like I said, 4 awesome units, mix of 2s and 3 bedrooms that are gonna provide really great rental housing for the community.